Gen Z is in a hanky-panky recession. They're not putting out in real life because they're addicted to corn, and it's ruining the menu for men and women. If you find yourself only satiated by corn products and not by the real thing, this episode is for you.
So this is a topic that is too taboo for YouTube and Instagram especially, so that's why we're using a metaphor.
Corn. It's everywhere. On your phone, on your tablet, on television, and in video games. From your stepmom's creamed corn, to animals, to hentai. Whatever your pleasure, you can find it by visiting various adult websites.
You're right, it is everywhere these days.
The corn industry caters to all fantasies and walks of life. But it's not reality. This vegetable is addictive, and it's ruining the menu for everyone because corn addicts can't get turned on with a partner in real life. Their cobs are wilted when they should be poppin'. If you're shuckin', you have one person with you in bed. But online, you can swipe till your fingers hurt. When you consume corn, your brain experiences an overload of visual stimuli. The amount of corn a man watches is directly linked to corncob dysfunction and emotional and psychological disconnection when shucking a partner in real life. Various studies show that between 17 and 58% of male corn addicts struggle with some sort of corn-induced dysfunction in bed, including the inability to rise to the occasion or reach the big O. This isn't a physical problem, it's mental. Corn messes with dopamine and adrenaline receptors. Seeing hundreds or even thousands of exciting images over time means shucking in real life is boring and less arousing. Today, 23% of men under 35 report some level of ED in partnered scenarios. These men are in their prime. They're not the demographic normally associated with these types of issues. Men who consume too much corn take longer to climax with a partner and often need to watch more extreme videos to get turned on.
Wow, I did not know about this. You know, back in my day, we had to go find magazines in the woods. But, you know, kids today, I guess they just are born and it's just there in excess. I'm worried about my nephews who are like 9 years old. They don't have cell phones yet, but in a couple of years.
Well, you're worried about your nephews, but it's not just males who suffer from corn addiction. Females suffer too. Girls as young as 15 or 16 report consuming violent corn content that has distorted their views on physical intimacy and their appetites. Some girls say their first images of cornhole included scenes of BDSM, violent non-consensual acts, and rough play. Many young people learn how to shuck from corn. I can't imagine being a teenager and thinking extreme cornhole is normal. You gotta ease into something like that. You know, consensual non-consent. A lot of these girls don't even know what consent is.
I am curious for women, how much corn do they consume normally?
Well, I can't speak for all women, but speaking for certain people in my demographic that I know, maybe even myself, I don't know. Moderately consuming corn and sometimes not consuming it at all for long periods of time, but then going through like maybe a dry spell and consuming more corn than usual. But you know, you fill up on too much corn, things get a little weird. Sometimes what I'm seeing is so not for me that I have a hard time getting into it. It's a little weird.
Okay, I'm curious of the details of those kernels, but I won't ask.
I also don't want to kink shame anyone, you know? There's all kinds of stuff there that you can find.
Yeah, as long as you're not being hurt.
Which I think that's the thing. I see a lot of violent acts towards women that quite honestly disturb me. Like, I wouldn't want somebody doing that to me for sure. Like, I've seen some things.
You know, there's a good movie that came out about 10 years ago about this very problem. It was made by Joseph Gordon-Levitt called Don John. And his basic consensus was that he was a porn addict. Damn. I mean, he was a corn addict in the movie. And he just couldn't find the same level of stimulation in real life. And he finally concluded that like this fantasy of corn only exists online.
Yeah, in real life, you're not going to have that much stimulation coming at you. You're just going to have one person in front of you, not, you know, thousands of images that you can just go through all day or whatever.
Yeah, it's too bad.
Yeah, and people are wasting a ton of time consuming corn. And it's not just on sites like YouCorn or Cornhub. People also see pornographic images when they go on places like Instagram and they just see, you know, women who are barely wearing anything or even animations or drawings of actual corn. So it's all around you. You can't seem to escape it. And it is making people a little bit strange when it comes to interpersonal relationships and actually doing it together in real life.
Yeah, that's true. Ever since I've gotten Instagram, there has been an increase of me seeing large-tailed deer in my feed. I see it every morning. It's just like, oh wow, that looks great.
Well, we know what your algorithms are into.
Oh yeah, the algorithm is really into showing it to me, for sure.
And you can't help but click, right?
I can't help but think about corn all day after that.
I know.
Yeah, it seems a little strange for me to think that people that are, 12, 13 years old, to think that you just have access to all this stuff now and that you're into things that are, very hardcore. That does sound weird and disturbing.
I mean, it sounds disturbing to you and I because we're of a certain generation, but maybe to these younger people, it's totally vanilla and normal. I don't know, which is also very interesting. I do know that I have some male friends my age, 30s and up, who are dating, women in their 20s. And there's definitely a difference in behavior with women that are our age versus younger women.
Oh, really?
Younger women are, like I said, they're a little bit quicker to go from 0 to 100 than women my age. And I don't necessarily think...
Really?
Yeah, and I don't necessarily think that's like particularly a bad thing. It's just super, super interesting as long as everything is consensual.
Do you think that's because the younger women think the men expect that and they're trying to please them?
I do think that. Because I also have heard from male friends in my demographic that they're like, oh, I didn't really like that she asked me to do this, thing that was like a little bit more violent and didn't really know how to move forward.
I want to tell a story, but it's too graphic.
Zoomers and millennials were raised with access to the internet and smartphones. While technology and social media connect us in many ways, they can also make intimacy and connection more difficult. It's a paradox. Gen Z has everyone at their fingertips, but they're the loneliest generation. There are many reasons for this, but studies show that cornography contributes to the problem. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention state that teen girls today are confronting the highest levels of sexual violence, sadness, and hopelessness ever reported.
Yeah, I think one of the things that contributes to the problem is it looks like everyone out there is just having the most fun ever with corn, and you're not.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's an illusion.
I think for girls and for women, it also makes you think that certain acts are done regularly by people, but I assure you they're not. Like I said, you gotta build up to some of these things. You can't just come out the gates with some of these crazy moves that are happening.
Yeah.
And certainly, how many people are really getting their stepmoms creamed corn? Like, gross. Why is that such a thing?
If I believed the illusion, I would think it's happening all the time.
Let's hope not. There'd be a lot of bad, there's gonna be a lot of mad fathers out there.
So for the people that have realized that this is a problem for them, how can those people treat their corn addiction?
Well, I think that connection in real life is the answer here, and I don't mean just physical connection. People really need to work on skills that allow them to experience true intimacy. And you really can't do this online because everyone's just curating a digital avatar of themselves that is not truly authentic. To deeply know and care for someone, you've got to meet them in person and build a real relationship. Replacing human relationships with virtual ones just increases feelings of isolation and loneliness. So get out there and interact with people in the real world. And of course, stop consuming so much corn. After all, it's No Nut November, so make it No Corn November too.
That was a good point.
I am never doing that again.
Give me a break.
Right.
For more stories like this, click here and be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'm Brigida. Although I said click here, but don't click here. Don't click here. No. Now let's go out there together. Solidarity. No Corn November.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I did that once when I was like 20, and that was good for me.
Okay, so some of you will stick it out with me, and Tyson won't.
I'm out.
I'm out.